People of the internet, the reefing internet, this show is based on what it's like, as you can tell from my voice right now, to be at a reefing conference after the show is closed, probably at the hotel lobby bar, hanging out all night talking stuff. As such, we like to be free and we don't watch our language. We're not trying to be gratuitous, but we're not gratuitous, but we're not watching our language either. So if that's an issue for you, just know that up front. It shouldn't be too bad. And if it is, get over it. This is the Reef Beef. My name is Rich.
My name is Ben.
And today on the Reef Beef podcast, we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff, including ReefStock and why I'm still sick. We're also going to talk about some questions and a bunch of other stuff. So tune in. You'll hear stories from the trenches. This is literally the episode about what makes this show happen, because we were just at a show. So anyway, welcome to Reef Beef Podcast.
This show is brought to you by saltwateraquarium.com, powered by PolypLab, and also Champion Lighting and Supply.
How are you doing, Ben Johnson?
I'm doing better. We both got crud from the show, and I am a little bit ahead of you on getting rid of it, but not totally gone.
Yeah, I think it's has it been 2 or 3 weeks? I don't
2 weeks?
At least 2 weeks. That's why I've underlit me today to make myself look even more sickly. The terrible thing is I was better 2 days ago. I was like, woohoo! I tore apart my office. I tore apart the larva system. I tore apart the back room. And now it's spread all over the house and I'm too sick to do anything about it. Luckily, my family is gone till Tuesday, so hopefully I'll recover. But your health is better?
Yeah, it's better. It started with sinus stuff and then it went to like lung gunk. But and it came back. But someone called it convention crud. I guess I'd never heard of that, but it makes total sense. There's a bunch of people staying up till ungodly hours,
Yeah, in Denver, which is a desert, not drinking enough water.
Yeah.
And then I flew home, and then 2 days later I flew to San Diego for the day to take a look at what's left of Bob Fenner's book collection.
Oh, wow.
To help assess what we might possibly be able to do with that. And then I came home and was just completely trashed and have been totally trashed. I don't have COVID. I think this is a Salem-Clemens disease.
Probably.
Salem.
Probably. We hung out with him too closely.
Too closely.
So modifying the lab, what's going on?
Oh, so the lab, the Secret Home Lab gets totally thrown into chaos every time spawning is coming up, right? Because I need more space than I have tanks. So I have to set up a rack of tanks, and that's changed over the years. And this year taught me that I actually need even more space than I thought, which is good. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to push the larval tanks. They were set up over here for about 6 months, I guess. I'm going to push them into the back room, into the laundry room, where I have much more space and I've created more space. And then that system will get run to the sump on its own. It'll have a straight up overflow, and it'll have a return pump that I'll be able to run. It's going to be a DC pump, so I could turn it way down or turn it way up. One of the things I found over here was my salinity was unstable, and that was a pain. Also, it just ruins my office, and all of a sudden now I have space. So that's what's happened. And I cleaned out everything. I moved a whole bunch of stuff up onto the storage shelves that go around the perimeter. I cleaned out my cubes to figure out what I actually need to use. It's basically all the space in my office needs to be used. There's no display space left except on the walls and up high. So that's what I'm clearing out and doing and getting prepped for and getting this kind of back to a usable space. I'm really excited about it. And I also set up an end of the line tank. If you remember, for a long time, the tank behind me on the right was where my auto water change water went to. And then the tank drained to drain.
Okay.
So it was great because if I got anything that looked sick or I didn't trust, or it just went into that tank.
That's what you mean.
Yeah. Because it's the end of the line. That water is not going back to the system.
Okay.
It's away. So it's effectively a quarantine tank. I needed that tank for spawning, so now I can't use it that way. So underneath, you can't really see it, but underneath I just set up like just a little 15-gallon plastic tub. That's the end of the line tank. We'll see how that does and if that's enough. If that doesn't work out, I can put the end of the line tank in underneath the display tank.
Huh.
But since we're talking about crazy stuff, super insanity might be happening in the living room as well. My wife came to me and said, "Why aren't you replacing this tank yet? It's been 20 years." And I talked to her about why I didn't want to replace the tank. Everything's going well. Nothing's broken. It's bomber. It looks great. Everything's going very well. You know, I'd love to take everything out of that tank and drop it into a tank that was twice as deep front to back and do nothing else, essentially. So we were talking, and then she said, well, in the living room, why don't we put French doors on the front leading into the garden and a deck, and then the stairs, and I'll make a video walking through of this that I'll show later, but the stairwell behind the living room we could put a tank in that wall.
Oh.
So that's like a 4 feet, 5 feet deep tank by a 7 foot long tank by what I'm thinking now is like 6 feet tall.
Okay, total 6 feet, not 6 foot tall tank.
Yeah, 6 foot tall tank.
What? Dude,
yeah.
Do you want that?
Yes, but but I think currently I'm going to do something insane with it, which is it will be a paludarium reef.
Oh, okay. But you're not going to take down your reef.
No. So the idea is we set up that tank, right? Then we take everything in the current tank and we put it in that new tank. And it just stays there. The current tank, the old tank, gets torn out and a new tank gets put in there, which will be 5 feet by 40 inches or 48 inches deep by 30 inches tall.
So 2 new tanks.
So yeah, but one tank will be in the spot that the old tank was in.
Yeah.
And that way, I was talking to Steve Wiest, and he was like, any amount of inches in depth that you can get is going to look better, which is
yeah.
So the big reason not to replace the tank as it is now is because where am I going to put all that stuff while I do it? But this kind of makes it easier because I just move it across to the other side and then I set it all back up again later.
Wait, I'm still waylaid by a 6 foot tall tank. I maintain a 4 foot tall tank.
Yeah.
But I'm 6'3" and it's quite a chore. So I'm trying
to. It'll be accessible from currently. I'm going to have a meeting with Austin and Matt Wandell and a bunch of people. I'm going to do a video of this, so I'll show it to you so it makes sense. And then we have to actually figure it out. This is a long-term kind of plan. And I'm actually getting excited about it. It's been a long time since I've been excited. So
with those dimensions, is that the kind of tank that you are planning to get into full body from time to time?
You could. It's going to have doors on either side. So the water in the tank will only be about 50% of the height.
Oh, okay.
Right. And then because I kind of want to be able to look at the pretty part of a reef and look down on big whirling tables and stuff. And it'll probably have a giant octopus in it for a while because why not?
So you're just going off the hook.
An octopus cyanea. And the tank will go up 6 feet, but the window will like only be 4.5 or 5 feet tall. So there's a whole bunch of details that need to be really worked out, but that's the basic idea. It'll have massive flow. Joe from Unique Corals was telling me about a new thing Pantaray has got, which is I guess you could describe it as a wave box on steroids.
Yeah.
I want this to have surges. It could have a beach. It could have all kinds of stuff in it. So
we can hang out on the beach.
Hang out on the beach, just chillax.
Yeah.
So we'll see where that goes. And then there was more complications, but that back stairwell, which you're familiar with, and some people have probably seen it. And like I say, I'll do a video walkthrough of this to walk you through it. But that will just be kind of lightly weatherized. It doesn't need a lot. It just needs to keep the rain off it and kind of keep some of the heat so all the heat doesn't float away and to stop animals from getting in.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about the two-step process, three steps really, because the French doors have to go in first, because right now that door is the only way in and out of to the backyard.
Yeah.
So we need a way in and out of the backyard. But that I'm excited about that. And like I say, I haven't been excited in a while. I'm excited about all kinds of stuff. I got a dragon-faced pipefish. Super excited. When's the last time I've been excited about a fish? So I'm kind of thrilled and so that's what's going on in the world of Rich right now. Sorry for making it all esoteric and mental.
No.
When I'm not sick, we'll get to more of it. What's going on in Ben's world?
So not too long ago was winter, and we had some very unseasonably cold weather again for Houston, but luckily it wasn't like several years ago where there's pipe breakage. But anyways, I had one client that I have an ink bird on their tank and not an apex. And the guy called me, and his ink bird was saying the two probes are two different temperatures. So luckily I was due to be out there the very next day. But I
Okay.
was like, okay, because I keep those two temperature sensors in two different parts of the tank, one in the overflow and one down in the sump. So I showed up there the next day, and I'm looking around his tank, and I notice it's a tank that's in the wall, and you open a door and go back behind, and there's the filtration and everything in there. It is climate controlled. It has a window unit way up high that keeps it cool in that room, but it's still part of the interior part of their house. And I was like, wait a minute. And I was looking around, and out of there, it was so weird because it was still like 19 degrees outside, but out of their light socket, like cold air was pouring from behind their light socket. So
I'm sorry, 19 degrees Fahrenheit?
yeah, outside,
That was cold.
pretty chilly for Houston.
Yeah.
But and so I keep all sorts of things in my truck. I grabbed some Gorilla Glue because it's real sticky, and I taped around their around the light socket. Okay, then I started cleaning the tank, and then I realized that the filtration sits in a cavity. This tank already existed a long time ago. Well, a system existed, and I replaced it, but the whole cavity and all that was not mine from the beginning. But I get down there, start cleaning the aquarium, and I can see a small square cut into the drywall with literally frozen air like pouring out of it, hitting a glass sump, and just like freezing the sump. And what it looked like to me was like from an electrician, like an exploratory hole they cut while they were putting in the electrical, and they just never covered this hole up. And I don't know how this hole works with the rest of his house, but it just had frigid air in behind this drywall. And so again, I grabbed the Gorilla Glue or Gorilla Tape and covered that hole up. But I was just amazed, and that's what it was. It was just shooting frozen air out of his, out of the cavity and just nailing a glass sump. But
Wow.
it made a big difference. The tank was freezing up despite the 600 watts of, heater on there. But it was cold air hitting a glass sump. The heater had no chance.
Right.
But
Wow.
yeah,
And
that
it's
was
all
just a
fixed
matter of
now?
tracking down where the cold air was. Yeah, everything's fine.
Bitchin'.
Yeah.
I love brief detective stories like that. I love how you go through and is it this? 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 It's got to be that. And then you go look and you find out if you're right or wrong. I love that.
But and that's why I spread those. You can keep those on the Inkbird that has two probes. You could keep the probes together, but
Yeah.
for that function where it'll tell you, I don't remember if it's E4 or E7. That function will tell you, hey, the probes are reading different. So that's a good data point. If you spread the probes out, that'll tell you why in the hell would the probes be different. And it was different because the glass sump below was just getting frozen.
Yeah. I think so. You have one in the tank and one in the sump.
Yeah, for that purpose.
I think as systems get more involved, stuff like that happens. And the next thing to do is, and I've got a probe in the air. I want to know what the air is going on right there. Just because we get
more data.
We get stupider and more data driven as we get more complicated. We just want to you know, we want to check stuff. We want
Yeah.
to know, and we're not afraid to spend a little bit of cash to find something out.
It sure is coffee.
Saltwateraquarium.com is the place to go to purchase items for your saltwater aquarium.
We saw the saltwateraquarium.com people at a trade show recently, and it was really nice to talk to them.
Oh, they had a huge LCD thing you could order from right on the floor.
Isn't that cool? Right on the show floor, you could send me this.
It was huge.
And then it's there on Monday when you get home.
Yeah.
Awesome. They've also got a bunch of other stuff coming up, which we'll be getting to soon as they send us more of that information. But they've been a supporter of us for a long time, since before we were doing this. And we really appreciate them. And we think they got a lot of good products, and it'll get to you really quick. And so go check them out. Use their app, saltwateraquarium.com is not the name of the app. That's their website. Oh, Ben's got the app. Bring it to your camera.
Oh, look, it's Lord Callahan.
Lord Callahan. So yeah,
there's so much information there too. See, they got videos. Lord Callahan tells you how to do your aquarium.
yep. If you want to ask them questions, they will. You can text them, and but the main thing is they've got products you want, and they'll get them to you quick. So check out our link down below, saltwateraquarium.com. It's where all the .com saltwater aquariums go.
It sure is coffee.
So Richard, ReefStock.
ReefStock.
We went there.
We did go there. What did you think?
Oh, it was great. That was my second time there. The first time I spoke, this time I didn't have a speaking engagement, so I was just hanging out. And man, it's dry in Denver, though. That's the only thing I had an issue with. But man, you and I got together and we went and watched Dune #2, and it was super rad.
We saw Dune 2 in IMAX.
Yeah, it was like this.
Yeah. Lisa Nagayi.
Yeah.
That was great. And we're like Dune fanatics.
Since I was a little lad in the 80s.
Yeah. I guess light Dune fanatics, because I know some Dune fanatics and they put us to shame.
Yeah, there's levels to this shit.
Yeah. And it was great. I thought the changes that they made to the story helped a lot. And I thought it was very exciting. And we got to avoid the homophobia of Frank Herbert. Just had the Harkonnens be just horrible people.
And see, the deal is that Shai Hulud is not a bobbit worm.
No. Not even a unicid worm.
Not even a unicid. Could be a unicid on steroids. But look, people, bobbit worms do not show up in your aquarium. Let it go.
Let it go. Let it go.
Let it go.
Go.
You know, I was a crazy man because, you know, the day I was taking off on the plane, I was like trying to time everything out because I had a late plane departure. And oh boy, I cut it close because I was cleaning a tank. But this client is not too far, like 20 minutes away from the airport. But you know, I was like cleaning it, and I posted on Facebook, I'm cleaning the tank right before I leave the ReefStock. So I thought I was a cool person. But yeah, I cut it a little close, but everything was fine.
That is pretty cool. I thought the show was great. We had a bunch of beefers show up.
Yeah.
So we're calling it Beef Stock. And it's interesting because we had a bunch of beefers show up at the last MACNA we went to. And MACNA is a gigantic show. So there's a lot for a lot of people to do all over the place. ReefStock is a smaller show, and I like that.
Yeah. Cozy. We call it cozy.
Cozy. I like that. You know, we got to see the people we want to see. So there's like 15, 20, maybe 25 beefers showed up. Freaking incredible. And we hung out with them on Friday night. We had a meetup on Saturday morning. And then because the show was small, it was like, oh, we should all be doing something as a group. But we had already had plans to do other things with other people. So it was a good learning lesson for me at a smaller show to make sure that if beefers are coming, that we all have a plan of when we're going to hang out and when we're not going to hang out. And it showed me how to plan it better for more people and like get more people to go to the special events. So yeah. I'm really excited about that.
We always coalesced at the end of the day in the hotel lobby and stayed up till Lord knows how late.
Yeah, and it's I know Saturday, I felt so bad. Saturday night, we went somewhere. I don't know what we did. Oh,
Went
we
to
went
the
to
studio.
the studio. And that was like, don't invite everybody kind of thing. We were told we'll push more, we'll get everyone invited next time. And then I got back and I was so trashed. And there were beefers in the lobby. And this was my favorite kind of show, right? Because the lobby was all there was at the hotel. That's it. And they let us bring in all our own food because I
And
think
beer.
they're going to change the hotels being converted to a mausoleum or something.
Yeah.
No one cares what happens in that
They're
hotel.
moving Stalin. He's going to be moved there.
Yeah, right. And so I remember walking through on Saturday night, just, I guess the Cygnus was coming on. And it was like 11:30. And I was like stopping by groups of people going, I love you. I have to go die. I'm going to be dead now.
Man, it's super hard at trade shows to pace yourself, because even the first night I got there, I saw you and I were BSing, and I was like, man, it's just Thursday, man. You gotta sleep a little bit, because come Sunday when I was leaving, like I felt bad because my brain wasn't even working.
Right. Yeah. So we were up till 2 on Thursday. Then we were up till 4 on Friday. Then I was up till, midnight or 1 o'clock on Saturday. That's all I could deal with.
Me and a beefer stayed up on Saturday until 3 in the morning. We were listening to Sanjay Joshi tell us a bunch of like war stories of.
Oh my God. Oh, I was there for that.
Yeah.
He was in rare form.
But we stayed up so late. It was just me and the beefer and Sanjay, and he literally fell asleep while talking. And I leaned over and woke him up, and I was like, man, we should go to bed, Sanjay. And he's like, yeah. He was mid-sentence and just went boom.
I love when Sanjay gets like that, because he'll literally tell me a story and then literally tell me the same story again, like with no pause. And it's so much fun.
It was his, I know I can talk about it. It was his story when he wrote an article about tons of not having the right, gallons per hour, and the whole craziness that ensued.
Yeah, and how he got like torn to shreds and had to deal with that. And it was great because it was like, yeah, that stuff is not new. We've been doing this in the hobby since the 90s.
But it was crazy. And Tons is great. Tons is a great company.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is how Sanjay had measured the volume coming out of these pumps was from some like world expert that was hired by the US Navy with a certain device that would give him data on how torpedoes work. So it was like, you couldn't, at first when Tunza was like, hey, how'd you derive those numbers? And it's like, look, you can't go much higher than this guy that we used to test it.
So they were mad at first, and then they went back and went, oh yeah, you're right.
And then they redesigned it, and they're great.
Yeah, which is how this is supposed to be work. It's tough because very few, I'm going to change myself right away when I say no one. You can never say no one. Yeah. There are very few people, although I can think of one right now, I don't know that, who cares, who are trying to screw other people, right? And in general, people who are looking at product claims or other people's claims, no one's trying to screw you. We're all just trying to understand, right? I mean, when I say, what's the evidence? Show me the evidence for whatever this claim is. What is it that's convincing you? We're not calling anybody a jackass. Yeah. I'm trying to get behind what you're saying, and I want to be convinced. That's all it is. It's not like, haha, you're wrong. Haha, I don't care about that. I would rather be wrong about everything and have new truth come out and have me change the way I approach everything. But you got to give us compelling evidence. So what Sanjay did with that velocity, with that flow test, was to make everyone go, oh, how are we looking at this? We need to look at this differently, because it's just, now we know that it's not actually what we all thought it was. And now the hobby is better for it. I think it's great. Yay, people.
Richard is coughing.
Champion Lighting and Supply is a place to go. You'll be alive. Oh my God.
Wow. The early 90s called and wants everything, wants you to keep its everything.
Yeah, there's this new thing called rap, and I'm just trying to figure out how we work into it, and how does the champions of the lightings of the supplies work into it.
I'm sure we will hear about that. Champion Lighting and Supply, I think, is kind of the perfect size company. They're big enough to be able to get you anything you want, but they're small enough that they'll be able to get it to you and talk to you about it really soon. Todd is the man. He is a hobbyist. He loves it. He loves everything still, and he's deeply involved and he cares a lot. We love Champion Lighting and Supply. So check them out and buy some stuff from them. Champion Lighting and Supply.
Richard is coughing.
Hey, Richard, let's talk about feeding finicky fish.
Yeah, Farhad was asking about that. He's got a Tomini Tang that only wants to eat brine shrimp, he says. And he wants to know how we would get it to eat other things. What do we do with finicky fish?
Man, on a finicky fish, the first thing I want it to do is I want to find what it wants to eat. And then I will just feed it that, because before I want to start experimenting on it further, I want to sort of fatten it up, So I would try to get as many small amounts of, calanus and live brine and mysis and spirulina injected brine and just many things as I could think of, TDO pellets, have a small amount of all these foods and just sort of go through, the paces with it. And, if at first I just got it, oh, certainly he'll eat, spirulina brine, put it in there, doesn't look at it. Oh crap. Okay. TDO pellets, doesn't look at it. Oh, well, what the hell? Mysis, Hikari mysis. What the hell? Larry's, what do you eat? And I'm going to go through and try to find, live brine is usually pretty good because it entices fish from its movement. But nutritionally, live brine is like potato chips. But I don't really care. I just want to find, he's going to eat something. Yeah, I think the obvious thing is you check the environment too, because make sure there's not ammonia or disease or, is there some other reason why the fish is acting finicky? What do you think?
My thought, I think there's a difference between getting it to eat initially, which everything you just said is right. I just want it to eat. I want its belly filled up. And odds are once its belly starts getting filled up, it's going to start eating other things.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that this fish is in a tank. I don't know where, is this fish in the tank already or is it it doesn't matter if it's in QT or whatever. If it's eating and it's done with whatever QT you're doing, I would move it, whatever it's eating. I would get it out of QT and get it in a more naturalistic environment as soon as you can. And then I would be feeding everything at the same time along with its favorite foods. So if it's only eating brine, I would take brine and I would mix it with all the other foods that I want to be fed. And then I would squirt that in. So the fish, has very small brains, associates the baster going in with your brine shrimp. Then it starts associating all the other food with the brine shrimp. And then it just associates with coming to the top of the tank with getting fed. And in my experience, pretty quickly, they just start eating whatever it is they want to start eating. They start eating all the other kinds of foods as well.
That's the other thing I like is having them together with other fish that are eating greedily, because you can almost sit there and watch that fish going, oh, you guys are eating that? Okay, I didn't know. And they'll sometimes just do that, seeing all these other fish acting crazy, and it drives something in them.
Yeah. So it's a little counterintuitive because you'd think keeping them alone and safe, but fish are social creatures and they're monkey see, monkey do. I guess fish see, fish do. So yeah, do that. And it happens pretty quick and they start just eating a bunch of stuff.
Well, here's another thing real quick. If it is in a true QT and you're running therapeutic copper, don't forget that copper is an appetite, what was I going to say? Suppressant, an appetite suppressant. Some other medications can too, but it's tricky.
That's why I suck on pennies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is very different than getting the fish to eat first. This is getting the fish to not just eat one food.
Yeah.
Farhad, let us know if that answered your question or not. If it's not, we'll circle back and help you with and finish the details a little bit more.
Richard is coughing.
PolypLab. PolypLab. It's the place to go. It's a lab, and you put your polyps in it. PolypLab. Richard, what you got from PolypLab?
I got two things here, but I want to talk about Reef Primer.
Oh, wow.
Their coral dip.
Yeah.
I'm really digging it. Yeah, no, don't put it in your mouth. But
yeah, no. I'm
really digging it. It seems to be so gentle on the corals, it's so not gentle on everything else that it is now my dip to go to. Both Phil from PolypLab and Todd from Champion Lighting made me use it.
Forced you.
I think it's pretty great. Pretty great.
Yeah.
Thank you for powering us, PolypLab. We appreciate you.
Richard is coughing.
Richard, what is grief? Ecological grief.
Ecological grief. We talked about this on a show a little while ago. It's looking at what's happening about climate change, looking at what's happened to the world, or any problem with the planet, and getting really sad about what's happening. So Kevin Erickson was at ReefStock and did a great talk. Oh, by the way, I know I'm jumping around here, but the coolest thing to me about ReefStock is, at least on Sunday, half the talk was all beefers, half the attendees.
Yeah.
Beefers.
Some of the speakers were saying as such.
Yeah, and those are I want to be at shows with the people who want to be at the talks.
Exactly.
That's what I want to do. I want to go to the floor for a few hours, and then I want to go listen to talks. So smaller shows might be the magic, man. Regional shows might be the way to go, instead of these massive, hard to pull off national and international shows, which are huge and fun or exciting. But maybe 3 or 4 or 5 regional shows are the way to go. Anyway, you get to meet everyone, you get to talk to everyone, you get to see everyone afterwards. You get a lot of FaceTime with people you want to talk to. You get a lot of FaceTime with people you don't want to talk to. I'm looking at you, Raj. So Ecological Grief. Kevin Erickson works at Ames and did a great talk about what they're doing for coral restoration and rehabilitation and health.
That was an awesome talk.
Right? It's a depressing talk, right? And because the reefs are in bad shape, and I know some people are like, don't ruin my hobby with what's going on in the world, but it always seems to me like, as reef keepers, we're in a unique position to feel for and talk about and help educate people about what's going on with real reefs, right? And they're in trouble, right? And one of the problems is we have a couple of goofy groups that go out and say, they take like Ames data and they kind of leave out the important parts and say,
cherry picking.
Yeah. Well, last year they were saying, the coral cover's up by 4% or whatever. And it was like
less diversity. Yeah,
it's less diversity. It's not the corals that are really long-term building. It's the weeds of the reef. And this is exactly what we would expect. And the problem has never been, or the thought of the problem has never been, that reefs won't recover. Reefs will absolutely recover. We're not giving them enough. They're not getting enough time to recover now. And when that thing came out last year, the year before, it was like, just wait, another bleaching and things are going to be bad. And right now, the GBR is in the middle of a big bleach. And the people who work at Ames get depressed. They didn't get into this to watch the reef degrade and die. They got into it because they love it. So it's like people who love pets going to work at a kill animal shelter.
Well, it's like a nurse working at a cancer children's wing. It's like, yeah, that's no. Except
now, it's the whole world.
Yeah. The whole world is now the children's cancer wing.
Yeah, right. St. Jude's, you need to do better.
Shriners.
So the people working on it and paying attention to it, you get depressed. It's called ecological grief. And I think it's bad. The worst thing you can do is not talk about it. What we don't want to do is be mired in it and live in it all the time, but we do need an outlet. So on the Discord, we have, what's it called? The ecological.
No, me first. Environmental issues. Dude, jinx. We said it at the same time.
We owe each other a Coke.
Yes. It cancels it out.
And that's in the member section. And Hannah, one morning I posted something and Hannah was like, you can't do this until 3 o'clock my time. Yeah. I was like, oh, done. So we're not posting to the environmental issues channel until the afternoon. We
need some sugarcoating time, just a little bit.
there's plenty of great things going on in the world, and there is hope and all that kind of stuff. But we also do have to look at the reality of stuff.
For
The
sure.
reality, by the way, is that this year, scientists added 2 more levels to bleaching and heat warnings
Oh, yeah.
because the water got so hotter in Florida than anybody ever expected. So now they've expanded the damn scale.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of bleaching happening. There's bleaching happening in Bali. There's a lot of bleaching in the reef. And yeah, and it can recover. I mean, people should know that, right? As reef keepers, we understand this. And this is why I get a little so confused and grieving over the hobby. It's when people who understand this fail to apply it to the rest of the world. You know, if you overdose with caulk, bad things are going to happen. And then if you put everything back and you leave it alone for a while, things get better, right?
Yeah.
But if you overdose with caulk and then you drop your temperature and then you have no lights for a few days, and then, you know, then your pH goes down. And then, you know, if you keep having problems, the reef can't recover.
Yeah.
So we know that wild reefs can recover. They need the ability to recover. And that's got nothing to do with outplanting corals at all, because if the corals were doing fine out there, they would be doing fine out there. We know what the problems are. And, you know, we talked about the 1 or 1.5 degree temperature rise as being like a point of no return. We're blowing by that. We're now looking at 2.5 degrees as, you know, what can we salvage then? The other important thing while we're on the topic is people say, you know, well, the world's had other times when it's been hotter than this, when the seas have been more acidic than this. And look, there is no doubt the planet will continue. We are just the current dinosaurs, right? Yep. And the world recovered from the dinosaurs being all wiped out. It will recover, but it won't be what we want it to be. I don't care that it's going to recover and it'll be fine in 20,000 years. I care about what's going to happen for the next generation and the generation after that and the generation after that.
Yeah.
So we need to do better. So ecological grief. Talk about it. Try to be realistic about it. Talk to about people who aren't going to fight you on it and call you stupid. And if you have a therapist, talk to your therapist about it, because it's real. It's depressing. Or come into the Discord and talk with us about it. And
we are not licensed therapists, but we will talk to you.
But we will talk to you about reefs and what's going on. And we can start to see that an institution like AIMS is really paying attention to the problem and really trying to figure out what we can do. And it's possible we'll clever ourselves out of this. We're good at that as a species. But if you're feeling bad, there are reasons. Think about how bad you feel when you crash your tank because you put in too much vodka.
Now
or
crash
whatever.
the world.
You know, that it's bad, but it's not the end of everything. And we can help each other feel better about what's going on and how to move forward. So don't beat yourself up for feeling bad about it. Don't let people tell you you're stupid for feeling bad about it or thinking about it at all. Do you, and find other people who are going to help you through it.
Man, Dr. Erickson's talk, you see how much AIMS is doing it. It was insane. Is that the world's premier, like, we're trying to do something about the reefs organization on the planet?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no one else. They're doing a ton, but you'd think like we need to do something like that in the United States.
Well, it's interesting. We don't have reefs in the same way.
Yeah.
Right. Our reefs on the East Coast have been disappearing since the 90s or even earlier, right? You know, there are
people... Limp Bizkit.
What?
It's because of Limp Bizkit.
It is because of Limp Bizkit. If they had only been in it for more than the nookie.
Yeah. It was the short-term goals.
So it's not as diverse even when it was at its peak. And it progressed much faster than what's happening in the rest of the world.
But so I'm not so much saying it for our reefs. It's just that we have people and money.
Well, there are people working on it, but you know, AIM's got like a $500 million 2 or 3 years ago
Wow.
to specifically spend money on and figure out this issue. Now, if you were to give, if our government, it's government funded, right? And people have problem with government funding, but this is what government's supposed to do. They're supposed
Big
to
picture.
fund a big picture thing that might not necessarily have payback right away, but it's knowledge to understand so we can be able to act in the future, right? When you give a grant that big here in the States, and it happened over there as well when it came out, people were like, your government's just going to piss it away and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, okay, so let's do nothing.
Do nothing. Yeah.
That's kind of what happens. Right now, we've got a whole bunch of little tiny groups who are all working and trying their best. Most of them are, there's only a few that I think are in it for a cash grab. But most of them are trying to work together. But just the scale of the funding and the proximity to the actual reefs allows AIMS and this section, which will be becoming more public in the next year or two, to be able to do work quickly and hardcore. And they're doing work hardcore. When it becomes public, it'll be very exciting. So yeah, I think that, is that what you were asking?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, they're coming up with some crazy stuff that is not public yet, that I just heard a little bit about because I overheard a conversation on the phone and was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
So we could go a long way to help clevering ourselves out of this. Now, also remember that the East Coast of America and the Indo-Pacific are very different reef systems doing very different things and at very different stages of what's happening with climate change. So, yeah, there is some hope. I mean, of course there's hope. We could fix it now if we really wanted to, but scientists aren't the one to fix it, right? So
Industry,
no,
government.
but it's the world's got to fix it. Look, we know pouring oil into the ocean is bad, but we keep pouring oil into the ocean. So, you know, we know producing plastics is bad, but we're still producing plastics. You know, if you lived in a house where where the carbon monoxide from your heaters was getting pumped back into the house, you wouldn't try to just like put a mask on your baby and hope everything was going to be okay. You'd stop the freaking problem.
Yeah.
We know what the problems are. I feel like such an asshole because
No, but it's so ridiculous because it's,
been saying this for 20 years, man.
Yeah.
It's the same conversation. So it's not.
But then it's tied to like, I know this is so, but it's true. It's tied to like, petrochemical industry and world governments and world economy and, oh, we can't just not do plastic. What else are we going to? Well, we got to think of something because we're turning the whole thing into a toxic dump.
Right. And I mean, that's why we talked about the San Francisco airport having no plastic, right?
Yeah.
Everyone was like, that'll be terrible. And you go to the airport now and there's just no plastic and no one gives a shit. It's fine. No one cares. It's the consumer isn't responsible for the world. We're too big for that. The producers are responsible for what's going on in the world.
Hey, Richard, a while back ago, I hung some lights with a laser level. And stupidly enough, I used it for the first time. Should have been using it for a long time, but I'll put a couple of photos up. It was a funny situation because I did it a little haphazardly, but it all worked well. I'll put a link to this too. It's just a cheap Amazon laser level. It doesn't have to, I think it was like $40. It doesn't have to be one of the crazy ones, but I'll put some photos because what I wanted to do was hang it through the ceiling on stainless steel cables. Yeah. And they're Refi Unos. So they sit on, 2040 extruded aluminum. But at first I was going to bolt something to the ceiling, but I think to make stuff like that look sexy, you don't want too much clutter because all the clutter, I wanted it to go through the drywall into the ceiling. So I had to go and put a 2x4 across in their attic, across the joists. And I had to figure out where, coming back down, I had to figure out, one time I did this by hand and it took me 8 hours and I almost jumped off of the building because it was frustrating.
Right. And 30 holes in the ceiling.
Yeah. Exploratory holes that I had to spackle close later. but I was doing it with a tape measure and how it lined up with the tank. And and after I did this, and I even turned some other beefers on in the Discord onto just using laser levels to do it, to mark it. And who is it? Debbie did it, and she was like, "Oh my god, it took me like 1 hour or less," and it was like easy. But the dumb thing, I only had one laser level, and at that time too, I didn't have a tripod. So I'm gonna put a funny photo up of how you can call this Texas ingenuity, whatever you want. But I piled up a bunch of crap from these people's houses and set this laser level on top of there. Also, it was dumb because I was trying to shoot a line across through the midline of the tank and then mark it on the ceiling. And I didn't realize, I need two of these because I need another one to mark, to make an X. So that's where I put the hole. And I was looking around their house and I was like, and I saw duct tape. So I put duct tape up there, and then I got a magic marker to trace what the laser was doing. Then I moved the laser to the front and did that. So it worked and I could draw my hole, but I was like, dude, I need two lasers to do this. But it worked really well, and I'll show pictures how it came through real clean.
Cool. So while that's cool, why are you doing that for them?
No, because it's a tank I maintain, and I do that sort of stuff.
Okay.
I don't hire it out.
Because I almost feel like that kind of stuff, just like with the venting of the other thing, it's like that's somebody else's who has all these equipments and knows what, why are you even messing around with that?
This one is totally feasible by me. And if now I know and I learned to do this, I can make money doing this. This is completely feasible. The HVAC thing where they did that, I don't see too much liability with doing what I did.
Gotcha.
But the HVAC is just loaded with liability. That's above my pay grade.
Well, cool. I'm glad that worked out.
It was good.
You're happy with how it looked at the end?
Oh, it's so clean. When I did it by hand, it was a mess. Doing it with the lasers, there's literally like a pinhole, like the size of a pen, point in the ceiling. You can't even see it. The client, when he came to saw it, and it was like, they didn't understand how it was attached to the ceiling. I was like, no, it's traveling through the ceiling. And he couldn't believe it because the hole is only twice as big as the stainless steel cable I passed through it because it was so precise. So
I hope you charge him like $100,000.
$1 million.
That seems too much. 100,000.
Yeah, I had to back off a little bit. I like people to feel like they got a deal. So I did it actually for $900,999.
Perfect. People save $1.
Yep. Ride a cowboy. So you're excited about the hobby?
I think so. So I had a bad bunch of years. It was ecological grief, actually, combined with
existential anxiety.
Yep. And also a bunch of stuff happened at the same time that clicked into my brain chemistry. Oh, you're like when you do that with your hair, you're like a Australian frilled lizard.
Oh yeah, I'm a Jesus lizard. I'm gonna run across the water.
So yeah, I was pretty depressed, and the spawning kept me involved. But there, longer and longer times when I don't mess with the tank, fewer and fewer new acquisitions. Just like what's the point? What's the point? What's the point? And the last part of last year really cleaned some good mental house, and I'm feeling different and starting to get excited about stuff. And so I got that dragon face pipe, and it's swimming around, and it's like, wow, that animal's really cool. And now that I'm looking at the tank going, that's really cool. It's like, oh, well, look at that animal. That's really cool. Oh, that coral, that's not looking so good. Why is that still in there? Let's get that out of there and make this look good.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to take a video of the display as it is. And then I'm going to start making major changes. The stuff is growing way too fast now, and stuff needs to be changed. So I'm excited about that. I used to dread that. Now I'm like, oh, I'm excited. In here, I've got this tank up here with the anemones in it. I had a bunch of coral, oh my God, orange cap taken over. It was like it grown 3/4 of the way to the front.
Yeah.
So I smashed all that out. And cap, when it's in the middle of a big colony, is not fragile anymore.
Yeah.
fragile on the outside. That was a pain in the ass. And
Oh,
I chopped out all of the Japanese green Nephthya. It's just not sexy enough. It's pretty cool, but it's not sexy. And so now I'm going, what am I going to do in that tank? Do I get 15 flower anemones and spawn them and see what that goes? I've never kept those before. Maybe it'll be fun to keep.
beautiful.
Even me just thinking about, oh, I've never kept that. I'd like to keep it. Let's see. That's a new thought again to me. I lost some fish in the main display. We'll talk about this on another episode because I want beefers in the comments to tell me what fish they think I should get for my my display. But it's like, oh, there's not enough fish in here right now for me. So the spawning is very cool. Spawning F2, that was very exciting. I've been doing all kinds of experiments about killing pests, which I did some video of, so we're almost ready. I may turn the beefers loose on it before we talk about it, because getting to a real conclusion is hard. I think we need a bunch of people trying these things and then reporting back. So long-term excitement over a hobby is tough, especially if you do it professionally for a while. So I've been doing this hobby since,
Jesus.
since 85, 83,
BC.
even before that, kind of. But, my first saltwater tank was probably in 83, 84. That's a long ass time to do a hobby and be excited.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to be becoming excited again. What fish do I want? And how do I source those? And do I need to spend money on them because, do I need to save up and buy them? Because that's what I want rather than settling for something. If I don't like it, catch it out and get rid of it. So I'm getting excited about the idea of getting excited again.
Well, we, as everyone else in the world, are excited to see you being excited about being excited.
Thank you. So, but I talked about some of the plans for the other room.
Yeah.
Part of my brain goes, oh, Jesus, Lord, do you want to even deal with any of this? Sweet wounded Jesus, tell me, the tank.
Give me some sign.
The tank I'm talking about in the stairwell may need to be craned into place over the house.
Whoa.
There may be no other way to get it in place.
I would love to be there if that's possible.
You're welcome for any of this stuff.
It's going to be a fly on the wall.
So we'll see how it goes. So yeah, now I'm poised with, here's a crazy idea. This is going to take a lot of effort. And I just don't, why. And I'm starting to be excited about like, oh, the effort might be really nice. It might be so great to replace the tank in the living room now and not be worried about that stand anymore, not be worried about a 20-year-old tank, not be worrying about the intermittent drip I get from one of the bulkheads, all of that stuff, make that go away. And now the stand will be bomber from the beginning, and the tank will be bomber from the beginning, and it'll be built in better. And
oh my God, you had the opportunity to get the tank spec'd for like Hayward bulkheads instead of like,
oh yeah,
ABS ones. Like you can go hardcore.
And then for that tank, it's like, oh, probably put all the overflows externally on one end.
Yeah.
So there's nothing else going on in there. There's all kinds of, it seems like it's such a privilege and exciting to be able to think about taking everything I've learned and not just making my display bigger and better, but also taking everything I learned in the public aquarium world. And essentially the other system is putting in, a museum quality display in the house.
Yeah.
Oh, and there'll be a fogger in there. It will rain. There'll be actual rainstorms in there.
Whoa.
It'll be planted, this bog, all this stuff, all the pitcher plants and stuff, they'll be growing in there. So that's all kind of the ideas. Probably have a couple of archer fish, because why not? And have some chameleons walking around in the top.
Oh, you'll have like strategically like a brackish situation near it too?
No, the Tuxodes, the archers can go full salt.
Oh, cool. You don't see that every day.
Oh, why not? So, all these ideas are kind of exciting. So we'll see how it goes. I'll definitely keep everyone posted. The first thing I got to do for that part of the excitement is tape everything off and do a video about where I think stuff will go. And then I got to figure out a deck and French doors. But until then, next episode or in an upcoming episode, we'll talk about my current fish population. Yeah, we'll figure it out and I'll get a fish list and we'll get going. So that's what's going on.
Cool.
I'm excited at the idea of being excited.
I like it.
And I like talking to you about it. So that's exciting too.
That is awesome too. Well, we want to thank everyone for watching the show. If you really liked what you saw, you know, man, we have so many things. We have go on our website and we have tiered memberships that you can have more or less engagement with us. We have a Discord where you can go and engage with us in there. That's great. But if you can,
it's like being at a small conference.
yeah, a cozy conference, but with the altitude of where you're at, not in very dry Denver.
Oh, and I gotta say, since we're talking about the Discord, I'm really leaning into the idea of the pub. So if you come, it's not forums. We're not doing forums. Forums, meh. Forums are great for other stuff.
When we still have conversations about people wanting to know information, but we realize it's like a bar that you walked up to and people are talking about something, and it's okay. There's no archived information. Just ask the question again is all.
Yeah. If people go, oh, we just talked about that yesterday, scroll back a little, they might say that. But if it was a week ago, it's the same thing in forums. You read you read the thread, and then you ask your same stupid question anyway. So just come on in and ask your questions and catch up.
When you get the people, you know, and I understand the frustration, but you know, it's our Discord, so we're always very kind and sweet. But it, you know, people are like, oh, you should learn the search function. It's like there's that, but also too, just you know, they asked what level of copper it should be at. Just tell them blah blah blah.
Yeah, just answer the question. And the answer changes. So one of the things about Fenner's collection was that, you know, he's got all the old FAMAs, FAMA.
Freshwater and marine aquarium.
Freshwater and marine aquarium. And it's like, that's really cool that he's got it all. And we have access to it. Is it really useful for anyone now? Is a 25-year-old, 30-year-old article about keeping saltwater really useful to anybody? I don't know. So the information changes so quickly, you know, that having them is cool. And I get that there's all kinds of personal connections to the old magazines, but are you really going to look at that for information about the ghost pipefish? Because I'm not going to look at that for the ghost pipefish. I'm going to send you the article that Matt Wandell and I wrote in 2012 or whatever, 2014, about the ghost pipefish. And that's not even good enough anymore.
This is 1998, and it's fun and cool to look at. Definitely, I'm glad I kept them, but it's not where I'm going to go to get the latest information.
Right. So come onto the Discord. It's a smaller group, so the people there want to be there. They're not just filling up space. They're not looking for fights. They're just looking to talk to other people who want to talk about this stuff. And they're all happy to help you with information if they know the answers to it. So as you were saying, we've got plenty of stuff on the Discord. You check our website. You can you can buy us a beer. If you're going to buy us a beer, we appreciate it. You might as well become a member. You get to see the member sections. And we'd like to thank our sponsors, PolypLab, for powering us. We'd like to thank saltwateraquarium.com. And we'd like to thank Champion Lighting and Supply for supplying champions. Until next time, when you're coughing up a lung, know that it's your body getting healthy. Yeah.
I look like Gigi Allen of the future.
Aren't you? You should be dead then.
I know. Wait, let me throw feces at you.
G. Allen, what a big baby.
Oh, I know.
Wait, I should wear something then. Oh, I could wear this.
You can get fancy.
You can have everyone.
I'm from the goddamn future. Oh, a baby. Oh my God.
We
That
just-
is scary.
Did you just do this for the whole show? Let's try it.
It muffles it a little bit, but it's not too bad.
All right, let's see how long this lasts.
Oh, 5 minutes. Yeah, boy.
Yeah, boy. I'm a 90s hip hop.
Your Limp Biscuit. Your new metal.
Boy, Limp Biscuit.
Your biscuit is limp.
It did it all for the nookie.
Oh no, you're making my crud come back.
No, I like that. I learned that song rearranged on bass.
Oh, really?
It's a good song to play. It's fun. Da, 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 da. Are you ready? We need to do anything to get ready?
I am ready.
You are ready. Ben Johnson is a golden god.
I see. It
How are you-
happens.
I'm going to cough right now.
Do it. Do it. Richard is coughing. Okay, I covered for him. We didn't
Wow.
hear it at all.
So yeah, I don't know how we got on this topic.
Look at this.
What's that?
It's a tiny fiddle.
Oh, play it. Play it, Nero.
The world is burning.
You're like a John Lennon, Fu Manchu, Lemmy,
Gigi Allen.
Gigi
Yoko
Allen.
Ono.
Pink, Taylor Swift combination.
Like a baby. If all of them threw their juices into the middle of the arena.
That's right. If they all mass synchronous spawned like corals did.
Exactly. I'm a hybrid.
You're
A hybrid human. Oh.
Hello. Hello. Oh my God, who are you? Now you're just Lemmy.